So I love to cook. When I moved to Vancouver, I was excited to see the variety of vegetables and fruits to choose from. However, through my education, I realized something. We never really stop to think about where it all comes from. Everything is within our reach, but what is it discounting or hiding in the process? And I started looking into food, combining my love for it with my interest in design and change through design. Take a banana, for example. They're grown in the global south. They're cut while unripe and transported in refrigerated containers overseas, and the ripening is artificially induced. Then we buy a banana. We eat it still under the assumption that it is fresh, and if we don't compost it, the banana ends up in the landfill. Here's some of the hidden implications behind the banana's value chain. Looking at this, it's a fair question. Why are we not realizing that the impact of our actions and choices are huge? This is where my project Sprout comes in. Sprout is therefore a global network of self-sustained communities and schools that engage and act on rebuilding relationships with food. For example, University Club, a student-led or faculty-sponsored community group, possibly either independent or formalized by the school. It empowers individuals to rethink ways purchasing power can impact economies and the environment. Situated in principles of meta design and rooted in locality and context, these communities would bring people together to learn from each other with curated resources and act on those learnings to build change collectively. You know the common saying, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach a man how to fish and he'll eat forever? Meta design takes it a step back and provides an individual with the tools and resources to make the fishing rod. It's about giving agency to the users. It's about designing the design process itself so that the users can design their own solutions. As a designer, you provide users with the context and then leave it up to them to make and solve however they deem necessary based on their unique situation. And we need meta design in this case because the required knowledge to solve complex problems is beyond what just one individual or discipline can achieve. It isn't about delivering pre-digested information to individuals, but about providing the resources for social debate, discussion, and collaborative knowledge construction, similar to how we're gathered here today. And it's simple why food is an important topic. We all need it for sustenance, but it's being taken for granted. It's estimated that the world already produces enough food to nourish 14 billion people. That's double our population. And why? Because globally, a third of the food produced is thrown away after purchase or spoiled during production, preparation, transportation, and sales. I truly believe that if consumers change their interactions with food, it can impact the entire life cycle. What we demand is what is supplied by farmers. If we start buying from a certain vendor, for instance, it will impact how other vendors sell their products. So here's how meta design can be incorporated to establish ways consumers can help impact the food industry. A toolkit, which is still in progress, provided to each micro-community. The toolkit shows the different stages of the life cycle and related themes. It will be available to communities as a web resource. Each community begins by identifying themes that suit their context best, views resources, ties it all together, and starts engaging in conversations geared towards designing solutions. Before this toolkit can be shared with communities, it goes through 2 stages of meta design. The first stage is design time, when the needs of the user are anticipated and designed for. The context is designed along with other individuals in a collaborative process. In this stage, I will be holding workshops and activities at Emily Carr. I would begin by under-designing, which means to intentionally design less, as a way of getting people to engage with the research I have gathered and document themes and concepts that emerge from discussions. It is also an unself-conscious design process, as no idea is set in stone and is open to be changed. So the themes that I discovered in my research can either prove valid or be completely removed from the toolkit. The diversity of perspectives and openness of the framework is important going into use time. Use time is when this toolkit will be implemented by universities and even schools. What they will create and how these discussions follow is up to them. While developing this framework, I looked at precedents that operate at a similar level. Slow Food is a global organization that combats fast food culture. Similar to their initiatives, Sprout encourages discussions in self-built communities. Fair trade advocates for better working conditions for farmers that grow sustainably farmed produce. And by providing resources such as this, Sprout communities can take actions in existing campaigns and even build their own. So currently, I'm conducting the design time workshops, following which I will be building the final framework and toolkit. Some of my needs from you would be intel on university infrastructure and ways to connect communities locally and globally. And at this stage, all feedback and suggestions are welcome, and I would love for you to keep following the project and hopefully implement it in the future.
So first of all, I really love your presentation. It was very precise and well presented, a lot of visuals. I did have complication understanding if like Sprout is your project and that's the meta design is the method of how the product will be used. Okay, cool. And then another question, so are you looking at geographic communities like universities or, okay, specifically universities, you want to give it a try?
Yeah, I think to start with, universities and maybe even schools would be a better place to start because there's already organic communities that form, and it would be hopefully at a global level, starting locally. And yeah, Sprout is basically the whole network, and then who engage on food.
Yeah, I love the idea, and I think it's already happening in a lot of spaces where communities stick together, where it's basically like a community building area with this many families and whatever, and it's specific enough that there's a long-term result and people actually want to contribute because they're going to benefit from the long-term result that they're creating. I think we live in a time that it's very difficult to have that community stick together and people move in and out of places, come to university and go away and then come up with new ideas and do want to eat a banana even though you can't grow it here. So it's like, what's the container there? It's like just try to, I think, start with a place where it's easy to imagine, oh, this can work, just because there's so much like moving around happening. And then will that completely replace you going to a grocery store, or will it just be an adaptive to it so that we can kind of reduce and choose and use that as educational piece as well. So some just clarity things, but I do love the process, and I think the education piece is really important also that people are aware of the whole supply chain. Yeah, so I hope that helps.
I love the idea. I love the pitch. I do have a lot of questions because it sounds like the beginning of an idea and not, I'm wondering what the resolution is. Like, what is your expectation?
I think it's just to get people to start talking about these issues and then finding ways that they can do it for themselves rather than relying on...
And what is it?
I think it's mostly just about thinking about what we're eating, where we're eating it from, why are we doing this, and actually just having a more personal relationship where we know exactly by eating a banana, what are the practices that we're contributing to.
Yeah, like really understanding farm to table to soil. Do you actually need resources to get started on this? Or can you just start it yourself? You're already sort of doing a beta. Are the resource requests necessary?
Yeah, I don't, like, because the thing at Emily Carr is just about building the actual toolkit, but yeah, I'm not really sure how to formalize the structure of the community. Like
maybe more like mentorship on how to activate something like this. Cool. I'm also curious, are you interested and committed to doing this outside of this sort of process? Because I get the impression that you're really passionate about this. Okay, cool, awesome.
So is the workshop your deliverable for your project, or what is your main deliverable?
Yep, I think the toolkit that will be informed through the workshops is my deliverable, and then it'll just be given out to anyone who's interested in talking about this, and that's where my role ends and their role starts about actually engaging with the conversations.
Great, I think it's a great idea because I think Canada is one of the biggest food waste country, or even Vancouver is one of the biggest cities with a lot of food. So great idea, and I think it will work. Just have to figure out how to make it the deliverable to how to spread it out in the community.
I didn't mean to take that from you. I just wanted to signal. I want to add to it that it is a great idea and there's no downside to it. But how do you make this an idea with longevity? Like, how do you pass this on to the next generation? Where does it carry on from you? So that's something you want to build into the infrastructure somehow. I love the idea with engaging. It's like a live documentary, but how do you make it bigger than yourself? That's a really big question for you.
I think it's how you're going to manage if you are not the only one who's doing it. How you're going to pass it to, like, at the same time, you got workshops around the city or even around the country. How you're going to make that work? Because it's, you as one person, it's very difficult to manage the whole system or the whole community because it's going to build, can be quite big. So think about how you structure it in a way that you can scale it in different way, basically.
No, all good. Yeah, scalability is definitely a thing. But the toolkit, as soon as you start applying it, I think with small groups and go bigger, I think you will figure it out actually how you can scale it. And if you can just make a video out of it and send it to another university, they can do the same. So I think testing it is just a good start.
Okay, great.
Thank you.